great college baseball game, great environment, great everything tonight. I'll start with obviously complimenting our starting pitcher. Adam Hill again was tremendous. 7 innings, 14 strikeouts, 2 hits. He's developing into one of the top pitchers in the country. Thought both teams played well. We just were able to find a way to score one more run tonight. Had some guys really step up. Eddie Demarius was outstanding tonight. Matt Williams with the big home run. Obviously, you just never know who is going to step up in these games, and so to see guys that you don't expect, I just think that shows why this is such a great team game.
Mark, what was the thinking of pinch hitting Williams there? Was it a matchup thing, or did you just try to get some more pop in the lineup there?
Well, it was a matchup thing. The splits said that lefties do better in that situation with that pitcher, so it was the right move in terms of just trying to increase your percentages. That's the decisions you make throughout a game are based on percentages, and so the lefty matchup made more sense there, and Matt Williams obviously did the rest.
Mark, what was Adam doing tonight that was so effective against a really good hitting team?
I mean, same thing he did last week. Plus fastball command. The slider, he was throwing at will for strikes down and away. And got ahead of hitters too. You know, that's the key. With his stuff, if he doesn't fall behind and they can't just sit on the fastball, then he's lights out. And so 28 strikeouts in his last 14 innings. It's as good as it gets. It's as good as it gets.
Eddie got out of that. Oop, Mark over here. Eddie got out of that inning in the 8th, and then had the huge 9th inning with the strikeout to end it. Just is that kind of what you've expected from him, and kind of what did he get back to what I guess he was doing?
Yeah, that's the guy. That's the guy we've seen all fall, all spring. And we wanted to make sure last time we came out here, we said we knew he'd get it back, you know, and he'd struggled a little bit, but it's very rewarding as coaches when you continue to show confidence in guys that you have faith in when they come through like that. And he came up in a big way today. And Skylar did a good job. Once again, we talked about how Skylar has been really good so far with helping guys make adjustments if they struggle, and I think that was key. If Eddie doesn't do what he did tonight, we don't win the ball game. So hats off to him for having the wherewithal to bounce back like he did, and we won the game because of that.
Going back with Joe, no way.
Coach, in a game like this, in a setting like this, how does winning this type of game set the tone for the remainder of the weekend, this rivalry series?
Well, as I told the guys after the game, you know, our goal was to come out today at home and go 1-0. Tomorrow, we don't talk in terms of series. We just talk about getting on the bus tomorrow and doing everything we can to go 1-0 tomorrow. So tonight's great. We'll enjoy the win, but when we get on that bus tomorrow, it's with a focus to win tomorrow's game, period.
Mark, you couldn't kind of hide your excitement yesterday about being in this series for the first time. How did tonight live up to the hype? That's a pretty spirited debut.
Big time. It really lived up to the hype. The crowd was great. The guys were really into it. There was emotion on both sides, and there's no question in my mind that it's the #1 baseball rivalry in series and in the country. And I think tonight was more evidence of that. 2 real quality teams going after it. Both teams really wanted to win, and obviously that stadium was filled with a lot of fans that wanted to win. So to me, it lived up to the hype and then some.
How much, as you guys are putting your imprint on this program, does a game like this against this specific team do for belief, just to sort of reinforce the things you've been saying?
Well, I just think with our team, you know, on the inside with our team, I just think it shows that everything that we're trying to stress as important shows up in games like today. And so our defense was really good for the most part. Our pitchers got ahead and threw strikes. Everything we talk about being important shows up in these close, big games. And so I think you continue to get that buy-in from your team that when you're in this situation and you're in these close games and you end up winning them because they did all the things you've asked them to do, I think that just continues to magnify and build momentum within the program. From the outside, I can't say from the outside, but I know on the inside, that's big for a program. That's big for a new staff and new players getting to know each other, going through these kind of games and coming out on top.
Mark, how much did your guys need this, given the disappointment of the last couple of games?
Yeah, I think it was important. We needed to show that we would bounce back and be resilient, and the kids showed that today. Last two losses nobody was happy with, but we spent the last 2 days looking ourselves in the mirror and trying to figure out what can we learn from it. Worst thing you can do after a loss is feel sorry for yourself and not learn something from it. So we learned a little bit about ourselves the last couple of days, got to work, which is all you can do, and I think the guys were rewarded tonight because of that.
LT Tolbert started games at first base. Then Chris Cullen did without even practicing over there. Jordan Holiday. Then, Matt seemed like he was kind of passed over there for a while. What does it say about his level of engagement just to be able to come out in that situation when some guys could think that, they've just been passed by and forgotten about?
I think that shows what a great program guy he is. He could have easily gone in the tank. He could have easily felt sorry for himself, but I don't think that's how he's made. I think he's a great kid. He's trying to help us win when he's not starting. He'll watch the game. I see him talking to his teammates in terms of little things that they might be able to look at based on the pitcher or defensively. And so it's just amazing how the game rewards guys like that. And so for him to get that kind of hit in that situation with very limited at bats this year, it's just, I think that's a guy doing the right things and getting rewarded for it.
Obviously knew about Seth Beer and what he could bring. When he hits that home run, obviously he's a guy that can really give momentum to that team. Yeah. What was it like inside your dugout, and how'd you guys have to kind of respond to that moment, which kind of took the life out of this place for a second?
Yeah, I think I'm sure a lot of people out there were thinking deja vu, but within that dugout, you can't afford to think like that. You have to think about the next pitch, the next inning, and you just have to figure out. At that point, we still had 4 at-bats left, so there was no panic in the dugout. There was no feeling sorry for ourselves. There was, okay, we're now behind by 1. It's not like we were down by 5 at that point. We were down by 1, and it was just a matter of figuring out how we could get back on the board and tie the game and then eventually try to win the game. But I was really happy with my dugout there that we as a team didn't panic and just stayed the course.
Mark, you had, obviously TJ had the big hit, but Noah walked in the at-bat before him. Just how big of that is it for him to come in there in that big spot and have that kind of a bat as a freshman?
Yeah, that's one thing I mentioned to the team afterwards is the number of guys that didn't start the game that ended up having an impact on that game. Obviously, Matt Williams, Noah came in there and had the big walk, ended up stealing second base to stay out of the double play. And then Danny Blair scored the winning run with his speed when we pinch ran him for Jonah Bride there at third base. So, the key there is that the guys understand that you never know when your number is going to be called, but you have to remain ready. And they're all important pieces of the puzzle. And so sometimes your role is big, sometimes it's smaller, but at some point we're going to count on just about everybody to help us win these types of games.
You mentioned the way the dugout responded to Seth Beer's home run. Adam Hill, the very next inning, he strikes out the side. Yeah. What does that say about his makeup and his character that he's able to gather himself and do that?
That he has plus character and plus makeup. He's a competitor, and I think he's really taken the next step. I've seen what his stats were in the past. I've watched video of him in the past. I think he's taken the next step, and that's very important for us as a program. I think that's very important for his career, that he is showing that he is a Friday night guy. That was a big question mark when guys go from Sunday to Saturday or Saturday to Friday. Will they be able to take that role on that stage and handle it? And the way he's been the last 2 weekends, it's clear that he's a Friday night guy.
Center here, Will. You mentioned about Noah coming in and pinch hitting and having an impact in the game. Using that DH in the number 9 spot, is that basically by design to try and get him a chance to be a second leadoff hitter late in games just to give you some pop at the bottom of the lineup?
No, that's just how the lineup worked itself out today. There was no grand plan to bring him in, the second half of the game as a second leadoff. It just the matchup. Hunter Taylor started today at the DH spot because he's been hitting 375 off lefties, which was higher than Noah up until this point. So that's why he started in the DH spot today. But then when they flipped it over and they brought the righty in, Noah's better from the left side. For that matchup. So once again, we'll continue to you just kind of play your cards the way they need to be played based on the situation, and then kind of let fate decide from there.
Time for a question or two. Anyone? Okay. Thanks, Coach.
All right. Thank you.